You are here on purpose with a purpose by design. I am Dr. Pamela Hinkle, and today I have with me Angela Bennett, another one of the most amazing women of the Power Voice, here to share her amazing story. Angela, welcome. We're so glad you're here. I'm just thrilled to have you. Now, I am in US of A in Minnesota, and where are you?
I'm in Sydney. Well, okay. I'm in Tasmania in Australia, but I live in Sydney.
So we are literally across the globe from each other, and yet across the screen from each other. So I always ask you when I talk to you, how does the future look? Because you're in our future. So how does the future look, Angela?
It is magnificent. Today is a beautiful day. I mean, it's summer here for us, winter for you, I suppose, but it's sun is shining. It's glorious.
Beautiful. And what time of day is it for you right now?
It is 12 o'clock, 12 p.m.
So, okay. So 12 noon. And for me, I'm a day behind you. So for you, it is February 3rd, correct?
I think it's the 2nd. No, February 2nd, 12
Okay,
noon.
February 2nd. Oh, what am I thinking? Of course, it's February 1st. Hello. Uh, February 1st for me, and it is 7 o'clock at night, and it is February 2nd for you, noon. Oh my goodness, that is so just amazing. And yet here we are connected, and you are going to share your story with us. We're so excited. So take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me, Pamela. My name is Angela Bennett. I am a speaker, author, and coach, transformation coach, and I live in Sydney, Australia. Yeah, I am a mum of 5, and I'm part of the Women of the Power Voice anthology, which is an absolute blessing to be a part of.
And it's such a blessing to have you be a part of it. And you and I are going to talk about the Power Voice and the Power Voice Academy. We're going to talk about all of that. But before we go there, now you've introduced yourself, but I know that our viewers and listeners really want to know who you are, like peeling back those layers. So, Angela, tell us, who are you?
Who am I? Wow, how much time do we have?
All you need.
Well, as I said, I am a mum of 5. I am a grandma to 1. And I am a domestic violence thriver, suicide survivor, ex-sex worker. Yeah, wow. What else do you want to know? There is just so much that I've been through in this life, and it is by the grace of God that I get to sit here before you today. It's just been an experience. This life has been an experience, and yeah, wow. I don't really have any more words. It's just been an experience, and it's just great to be here, to still be alive, to be breathing in this moment.
To say that, to say like life is an experience, but then to follow that up and say, you know what? I'm just so happy to be alive. Like that's a powerful statement, especially with the little bit that you shared with us, domestic violence, suicide attempt, all of these things that you have been through. And you're saying, now I'm just so happy to be here, to be living my life and telling my story. That's huge. And that's powerful. And there's people out there listening and watching right now that are thinking, could I ever get beyond the darkness that I'm in right now? That maybe they have contemplated, they're on that road that you were once on, and they're listening to, tuning in and hearing your story, and it's giving them hope. And I feel that real strong in my heart. that there's just a lot of hope that you're going to be imparting to people today. So, with that, let's talk a little bit about your story. You shared a little bit about the suicide that that you're a survivor here, the domestic violence that you've been through, that you're a mom of five. I got you beat by one. I got six, but and a grandma myself of one, and those grands are just the apple of our eyes. And isn't it precious that you're able to experience all of that and enjoy your family and your children, especially coming out of what you have come through? So would you peel back the layers a little bit for us and share with us your backstory? What brought you to the place? How did you end up here?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about this just the other day. I'm currently working one-on-one with Lesbos, and I'm putting together a 30-minute presentation, and I just wanted to start it around that pivotal moment in my life that made me look at my life and go, "What are you doing?" Just asking myself that question. It was actually at the hands of my partner that I gave him a look, and my ex-partner, sorry, I gave him a look of, "What are you doing?" And in that moment, it shifted and interrupted his pattern of thinking, but it also interrupted my pattern of thinking because I was in a situation that I shouldn't have. Well, I shouldn't have. I ended up there, and I came from a decent family. My parents were still together, and here I am in this domestic violence relationship, working in the sex industry, and my partner has his hands around my throat, and I'm like seconds away from passing out. And I, as loud as I've ever heard an audible voice, I heard God say to me, this is the one time that I can say I heard the voice of God. He said to me, because I couldn't speak, like I was about to pass out. He said to me, "Give him a look from your face, a pleading look. What are you doing?" And I did that. And just like that, it interrupted his thinking and he got off me. And because I heard that voice, I'm sitting here today in front of you. So, like I said, that voice, that question also interrupted my pattern and my thinking of, what am I doing here? What am I doing in my life accepting a situation like this?
Mm.
That's an easy question to ask, and it's an easy answer to come up with and go, how easy it is to just pack your bag and walk away. But I know that when there is financial control and emotional control and all the different types of control that come along with the domestic violent relationship, it sounds like people are like, why doesn't she just leave? It's not always that easy to just pack up and leave. So I get it. But if you can start looking at the choices that you're making that got you to that situation and planning a way to get out of it, that's paramount. That is your pivotal moment that will just go, okay, something needs to change here. And that question, what are you doing? You can ask that in every single area of your life. I don't know how far you want me to go with this answer, but yeah. You can apply it to your job. You can apply it to your finances. You can apply it to your family. You can apply it to the violent relationship you're in. You can apply it to the mindset that's going on in your mind. You can just ask that to yourself at any moment.
That is so good. It's something you said. Now, I'm a note taker, so I'm always taking notes when I'm interviewing people. But you said, okay, so that you were being a victim of domestic violence. I mean, seconds away from passing out because you're being choked. But you also mentioned that you were in the sex industry. And I just want to take a pause here for a moment to say that God was not ashamed of you. He was not disowning you. He wasn't saying you're tainted goods. In fact, he was right there in the midst of all of that and spoke to you.
Yes. Yes, Pamela.
That's powerful and beautiful, because a lot of people have a thought about, that I'm tainted goods.
Oh,
God wouldn't want anything to do with me. Yeah, right. I feel that.
yeah, I feel
And
that.
he wouldn't talk to me. I'm too far from him. I've let him down. I'm too far gone. He's, you know what I mean? Like all of those thoughts. And here you said, I was being choked. I was in the sex industry. I was about to pass out from this person who was your partner, who obviously was a partaker somehow in all of this that you're involved in, because you're involved in it and involved with him or this other person that you're involved with. But then you hear, give him a look.
Yeah.
The divine God, the creator of the universe, did not look at you and say, well, that's, you got what's coming to you.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that's, you reap what you sow. And again, there is reaping and sowing, right? But in this case, the creator, the loving God, didn't stand there with his arms crossed and looking at you and just judging, but intervened for you. What was that like in that moment, to be facing, like, you're about to pass out, and all of a sudden you're hearing the voice of God? Tell us what that was like. And then to just give the look and have this person stop. Whoa, like, unpack that a little more for us. That's amazing.
Wow. I've never thought about it like that, Pamela. But that is just so powerful. Just before I answer that question, it's so powerful because a lot of us, sorry, I got a little bit emotional through that. It's so powerful because a lot of people think I've come too far. I've turned my back on God. He would have turned his back on him, but he never does. He is forever chasing us, forever loving us, showing us so much mercy every single day, and grace and love. There's nothing we can do, nothing that is ever too much to make him turn his back on us. Nothing. Nothing is unforgivable. Oh, girl, that was so good. But, I've never even thought about it the way that you just explained that to me. So thank you for really shedding so much light on that incident right there in that moment, because obviously I was caught up in the emotion of it. I was just thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Plead with him with a look. Like, you're right, that it wasn't my time. It wasn't. And he loved me enough to make his voice so audible. I couldn't miss it.
So what happened? So you give the look,
Yeah.
and then what happened next?
He got off me straight away and he released his hands. I mean, he was straddled over the top of me. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't get to him. I could not defend and protect myself. So once he got off, the violence continued a little bit, but it didn't escalate to the point. Yeah, it didn't. That was the worst of the violence I experienced in that moment. And I moved out that day, actually.
You did.
Yeah, we ended up at the police station, and I moved out that day. Oh, wow, that is such a powerful question. In that moment, I couldn't think about anything other than protecting me and what is going on, because it happened so suddenly. But when I think about that moment, there's just, as I said before, just so much love and mercy. And now now I just get to use that story and go, yeah, I've been there. I've survived it. I've had to do a lot of work to forgive myself and recognize the strength that it took as a woman to survive a situation like that and to get out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, forgiving myself for allowing all of that to happen. But you know what? I am a phenomenal, powerful, courageous woman to go, hey, I deserve more than this. What am I doing? I'm allowing myself to be treated in a lesser way that I deserve, in a lesser way that God would have a life planned for me. He didn't plan for me to live in an environment like that. He didn't plan for me. That wasn't my destiny to be treated like that. So his word has so many promises and so many words of love and admiration and protection for us. That's what he planned. So
That is amazing. And so you get out of there that same day.
yeah.
What's the process for you? Because now here you are today, a mom of 5, an international best-selling author, a speaker, so many other things that you are. And like, okay, let's look back. Look how far you've come. Walk us through a little bit to where, okay, so you have this awareness moment, this aha moment. God intervenes, your eyes are opened, you're realizing that this is not what you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be at, or who you're supposed to be with. Did everything just immediately change like this for you? Was it like the light switch went on and everything was different? Or was this a process that you walked through?
Definitely a process. There was a little bit of both, but it was more along the lines of a process. And I think it's a practice that you have to make. I believe it's a practice that you have to do every day because your mindset is so easily your mind is a battlefield, right? So
Right.
your mindset can easily slip. And there are moments where I let it go and I can see myself going down. I'm like, whoa, I've got to pull myself back up again. I've got to, what's happening? Where am I out of balance? How can I get back to what the life I'm meant to be living and the mindset that I need to have to continue on? So, yeah, it's definitely a process. And we have choices in life. So you can choose to do the deep internal painful work in that moment of your journey, in the beginning of that new part of your journey, which allows so much change in the future. Or you can choose to continue on, to ignore and suppress and bury everything that you've been through and choose not to do the work. So your patterns are still the same, your choices are still the same, there's no change.
Right.
So either way, you get to choose, but you get to choose to do the hard work in the moment and work through it, and then have the freedom and the learnings and the growth sooner and change the patterns and the habits that get you into situations like this, or you can continue on that path and you will have to learn them eventually. You will make the same choices in relationship or people, relationships, careers, things that are not healthy for you and who are not benefiting you until you get to that point again where it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I need to do the change now. That's years later. It's like when Jonah, I read this story this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. You know, Jonah and the whale story, right? Jonah had
Yes.
a call from God, didn't want to do it, got on a boat, went the opposite direction. There was a storm that, nearly broke the boat, and everyone on the boat was like, who's responsible for God doing that, for this happening? And Jonah goes, it's me. The Lord called me to go and do something else, but I've gone the opposite way. They threw him off the boat. So he eventually still had to do what God called him to do and to go where God called him to go, but it just took him longer and he had some lessons to learn. So we have a purpose in life and we will eventually fulfill it. How long do you want to take to get there though? How long do you want to take to fulfill the great goodness and blessings and purpose that God's got for you, that will bring you so much hope and joy and fulfillment and peace, because we're responsible for our own peace. I'm preaching to myself here as well. It's not just, it's not me dictating to you. It's just, oh my gosh, this is revelation to me as well. So you've got the choice. You either do the work now and you get to your purpose sooner, or you don't do the work and you just keep going down that path, and you'll get there eventually, but you'll have more learnings, more hardships, more heartache.
Yeah. That's so powerful, Angela. I wrote down, do the deep internal work. That is what will allow and bring the change. The
Yeah.
deep internal work. And you said we have a choice. We have a choice. Are we going to take the easy route, which isn't easy? It's not easy to just ignore it and just to keep sloughing it under the rug and just to keep living in that crazy cycle. But it looks easy, but it's not easy. It's actually the difficult road. Or are we going to do the hard road, not hard road, but the hard work, that deep work? Or are we going to choose the deep work, which is going to bring the blessings to us?
Yeah.
And you're so right. We can be whatever it is that's on our heart that heaven has ordained for us to have. It's ours. But how long, like the Israelites, right? Are we going to go around that mountain? How long are we going to go around that mountain? Nice tree. I saw that tree last time. It was a little smaller. It's bigger now. How long are we going to go around this thing? And that is totally up to you and me, isn't it? It's our choice. It's our choice. And I love that. And I wrote down here, how long do you want it to take? Man, boom. That is a word in due season to somebody out there. How long do you want it to take? Do we just want to keep going round and round? Or are we ready to take that straight cut, even though it's not all beautiful? It's even roses have thorns, right? So,
Wow.
but as we go through that, like you're saying that you made the choice, it was a deep work, but it has brought you into the land of plenty. So, what was that like, that deep work? What did that mean? As you talked about deep work, you've talked about mindset. And where did you go to learn that? How were you directed? How were you led to this? Because obviously you had a lot of unlearning and relearning. And you mentioned mindset like 3 times. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So for me, I had postnatal depression with my first son, and I was only 17 when he was born. So that's 28 years ago now. Back then, they didn't know anything. Well, they didn't really talk about postnatal depression. And so after he was born, I went downhill and I was thinking, what's wrong with me? I'm crazy. Something's wrong. I'm not normal. Shouldn't be feeling like this. And then I found out years later, I found out about postnatal depression, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's what was wrong with me. But because it went undiagnosed, it turned into full-blown depression. So I've had 3 attempts of suicide. Fortunately, I was interrupted each time and wasn't successful. So I did a lot of work on mindset, and I was medicated for about 15 to 20 years. I can't remember exactly. I think it was closer to 20. But I think it was about 15. Medicated for about 15 years. And I had to see psychologists and counselors and anything and everything that I could do to learn how to monitor and have peace in my mind and to notice the signs when I start going downhill. Because that's when I can, now that I'm not medicated anymore, and now that I know the signs, I can monitor it. And it's, you know, things like lack of sleep or not eating well or too much alcohol or there's a lot of things and they're different for everyone. But certainly unfulfillment and lack of peace. But being aware of your mindset and what you're allowing in. I don't watch television. If I want to watch a movie, I'm selective about what I put in my head because you've got to protect that. You've got to, the Bible says, guard your heart, and you've got to guard your heart, and you have to guard your mind as well because, as I said earlier, it's a battlefield. And any type of thought, you've got to learn to catch it, check it. Is it encouraging you? Is it toxic? Is it tearing you down? Is it setting it? Why in one moment are you feeling so good, and in the next moment you're heading down a destructive path of I'm not good enough or oh, I can't do this. Like, are you comparing yourself to someone? What's going on? You've got to catch it. You've got to check it. You have to keep yourself accountable for what you're putting into your mind and into your heart and making sure that what you're feeding yourself with is encouraging and uplifting and healthy. I mean, yeah, that, you know, I can go down that path for a long time, but yeah, it's so important. Mindset is paramount to me. And you asked me the question before how I got here, and I started listening to encouraging videos on YouTube. And I heard this voice, and I'm like, who is that? Who is that? Sounded like, sort of kind of sounded like Denzel Washington, but I'm like, no, it's not. That, you know, you could kind of pick little elements of like, oh, I feel like I know that voice, but I don't. So I had to do a little bit of research. And you know who it was? The great Les Brown, of course.
Of course.
So this was 2014 when I discovered him and I started listening to these motivational YouTube videos. So that's how I found Les Brown, and he kept me above my head above water. When I heard this saying the other day and I loved it, when the truth was like swallowing sand. He was what kept my head afloat. Because I was so tired of life and my situation, and I was like, I'm losing hope. I don't know how to get out of this. But I heard his words, and I thought, okay, when life knocks you down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And I hung on to that quote for years, and everything else that he had to say. But I knew in my spirit that I would work with that man one day, one-on-one, and I will speak on his stage one day. And I mean, this is 2014 when I'm in the depths of sex working, domestic violence. Like, it was so far from where I was at the time. It was such a massive dream. And here I am. Why am I stuck with my maths right now? 8 years later, whatever, 6, 7 years later, working one-on-one with him. And I have spoken on his platform, his Power Voice platform. So I did the Power Voice course. I think we were in the same course at the same time. And then I met, and then through that you meet John Tallarico, who does the Thinking into Results, the Bob Proctor, Thinking into Results. And so I did that course, and that was mind-blowing on mindset and goal setting and things like that. So that was huge for me. And through that, I started mentoring with Les Brown. So that's how we met. That's how I ended up here. That's how I started the whole mindset transformation. And then I did my transformation coaching, which of course you've got to go through the program as well before, because you can only take your clients as far as you've gone, right? So through that course, we had to coach each other, and we had to do a few. We had to have three clients from outside to be able to pass our course and be certified. So it was just amazing. It was challenging. There was so much that came up for me that I thought, I've dealt with this, I've worked through it all. But when you go and you do the digging, oh my gosh, so much can come up. And through that, I got to release a lot of stuff and work through a lot of things. And yeah, I get to sit here with you today.
Wow. What a transformation story. Oh my gosh. Seriously. So you went from this domestic violence, this awful situation, having the life literally choked out of you, to breaking free from that, starting to make different choices, getting on track, and then you end up fighting through postpartum, not even knowing what that is or why am I feeling this way, ending up with struggling with mental illness. Again, why am I feeling this way? Leading you down this path of darkness and destruction where you tried to take your life 3 different times. So that's 4 times that your life was tried to be snuffed out of you. And 4 times that God didn't let that happen. 4 times that he did not let that happen and put you on the right path. All 4 times he's got you on this right path now where people are caring for you. You're learning about mental illness, which we can't be quiet about. That can't be the topic that nobody wants to talk about. That has to be a topic that we are willing to talk about so that people don't feel like, they're the odd man out because they struggle with that, or that there's something so wrong with them. We wouldn't say that to somebody who had a physical disease. When somebody's body is sick with something, we don't call them the odd man out. We want to talk about it and hear their story. But when it comes to some of these other things, when it comes to the awareness of mental illness, people just want to shy back about it. And so I applaud you for stepping up and saying, no, this is what I went through. And I had to go through some therapy, and I had to take some medications, and I had to learn how to rethink. And in fact, you said, and I wrote this down, that you had to learn how to monitor yourself and notice the signs. That, that you had to do that. You had to choose to do that. And that as you did that, as you went through that, instead of just, okay, so, I'm feeling down and out, I'm going to go out to the bars, I'm going to go have a few too many, right? And end up in situations that are awful that I'm beating myself up for in the morning or whatever, right? Like there's a point where you had to make that choice, like, I'm feeling this way, why? Instead of just following that gut, that like just shooting from the hip thing, like, I'm just going to go do this. You said I had to learn how to monitor myself and how to notice the signs. But you also said that you had realized that the way you were living was not God's best. It was not what he had for you. And you were willing to do that deep work. And that deep work, monitoring yourself, noticing the signs, seeing the therapist, taking the medication, learning and growing through it, brings you to Les Brown. Now, for anybody that's listening out there, if you don't know who the legendary Les Brown is, you need to look him up. And because he is the greatest motivational speaker ever, as far as I'm concerned, and somebody that is our mentor, but he's one of the most amazing humans on the planet. And he has a heart for people that's bigger than the state of Alaska, okay? Bigger than the continent of Australia. It's just his heart is so huge and beautiful. And here, not only are you drawn to him to listen to him, but you actually end up connecting with him. And in your state of being, which is you're still on that road of recovery, right? You're saying in 2014, I am going to work with him I am going to speak on the stage with him.
Yeah.
Angela, you did that. You did both of those things. What was that like to all of a sudden be in class with Les Brown sitting at his knee as he is in person teaching all of us that were there, but teaching you? What was that like to be literally manifesting what you had prophesied over your life, and then all of a sudden you're sharing the cyber stage with him, speaking on his stage? Oh my goodness. Tell us what that must have been like. What was that like to have that actually happen?
Pamela, it was, it was difficult to believe that that dream had actually come true. That goal, that dream, that opportunity. And it was so wonderful being a part of that group, of that course, because watching that incredible man who is just so gifted, the one that everyone at the school said he was educably, I forget the word
Yes.
he uses, challenged.
Slow.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? He is the one person that who should not have made the stage like the way he has. So watching people tell their story to this magnificent man and seeing how he turns the story around, and it's not a story of victimhood, it's a story of victory, and it's a story of overcoming, and it's a story of power and encouragement. And this is the thing, like everything that we have been through is for a reason. Everything we've experienced, there's a reason and a blessing in it, because we now get to tell our story, which then helps others through theirs, through whatever they're going through. And he just has this magnificent way of turning his story around to make it so powerful and impacting that you can't help but not sit at his feet and listen to him speak every time he opens his mouth.
Mm.
You know, that beautiful laugh that he has, that warm, welcome heart that he has, that ability to make you feel seen, to make you feel heard. I mean, for me, my voice had been shut down for so many years because I was ashamed of what I'd done. I was ashamed of the life I'd led, and being torn down so much in my life. I knew from about 19 that I wanted to be a speaker, but I didn't know how to go about it, and I didn't know how to tell my story, and I didn't know, without it sounding like woe is me and getting people stuck in my hardships and my turmoil, because you don't want them to be stuck in your story. You want them to move forward with you in a way that encourages and motivates them to go, oh my gosh, I can do that too. She can do it. I can do it. So listening to that man and learning from that man, there is no greater privilege and honor than to be a part of anything that he's a part of, to have your name, anything that he has his name next to. I remember the day I was called to give my story. Oh my gosh. Fortunately, I'd written notes, and I literally could not look at him in the face. I had my phone up like this, and I could barely speak. If I was standing, I would have fallen over because my knees would have given way. But I was sitting there, and I was just reading my notes, tears streaming down my face, snot everywhere. It was like, it was fabulous. It was just fabulous. And he turned my story around. He was so taken by my story. He's like, wow, thank God you're still here today. Look at you, something. He was so encouraging. He just turned my story around, and I was just like, all these years I've wanted to know how to tell my story, and you just did it in a second.
Yeah.
3 minutes, you've told my story, you nailed it. It was just the most incredible experience, and learning now to put larger presentations together and working with him, it's just it's I don't even have words for it. Like, it is just a God-given gift to be able to participate in something like that.
Did you ever find yourself, like, pinching yourself? Is this really happening? Did it ever feel like a surreal moment to you? Um, Unbelievable moment to you that you would have said these words in 2014 and here you are. And by the way, I remember you sharing your story and him saying, "Can I do a little something something with that?" Right? I remember that, and how he took your story, which was amazing, when you shared it, but then when he took and put his twist on it, I remember literally, like, leaning back in my chair going, "Whoa." Like, it was so impactful.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you ever do you have a moment like that where you would be thinking like, "This is when I say unbelievable, it's not unbelievable, but it's unbelievable, like, I'm really sharing my story with Les Brown."
Girl, every week that I'm doing a one-on-one call with him, I'm like this giggly little girl who's in high school going, "Yeah, yes, Mr. Brown, yes." I'm just like, when is that excitement and those nerves going to pass when I'm sitting here in greatness? You know, yeah, he's just phenomenal. So yeah, every time I speak with him, every time my phone rings and it says Les Brown ringing me, I'm just like, I screenshot that. Yes, this is actually happening. And sometimes I sneak a photo every now and then, him and I on the screen. It's like, yeah, this is happening. You know, it's still, I think it'll always be a surreal moment. Like, it's just,
Mhm.
I mean, he's human like the rest of us, but for me, he saved my life. For me, he literally saved my life. So I recall walking down the street with one of my clients. I was on an escort job and we were out in the street and he was going through some stuff in his marriage. And I really felt for him. He was such a lovely man. And I was reciting Les Brown quotes to him. Like, it, it's amazing. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, that was so many years ago. But it's amazing what God brings into your life and what he brings to mind when someone else is going through something and you have the opportunity to share a little bit of hope. I didn't share anything about my story with him. It wasn't any like that wasn't about, oh, woe is me, this is what's happened to me, this is how I got through it. It wasn't that at all. It's like, dude, this is what I've learned. This is what
Mhm.
this is my gift to you. This is what I can impart a little bit of hope into your life because this is what I'm learning by listening to this great man.
Yes.
So you never know who you're going to come into contact with. I
Mm.
remember that Mr. Brown spoke about, it was on Clubhouse, and there was one day he was taking a rest and he's like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to go to Clubhouse, I'm just going to sit this one out. And then something said to him, same question, something like this, what are you doing? You've got all the time in the world to sleep. There are people out there who need you. You're not taking a dirt nap. You've still got a responsibility and something to fulfill. So he got on Clubhouse and he was talking to a gentleman, and somehow they got to chat after the Clubhouse call had ended, and Mr. Brown called him, and he heard this noise in the background. And Mr. Brown said, what was that? He said, they were the bullets that I just took out of my gun, hitting the bench, because I was about to end it today, but I heard you speak. If
Mm.
Mr. Brown didn't get up off that couch that day, he was tired. If he didn't get onto Clubhouse that day, that man would probably be dead. Or whatever he was going to do, whatever his plans were with that gun, whether it was someone else or himself, I don't know. But like, we have purpose that we are obligated to fulfill.
Mhm.
And it's not to take lightly. It's here to bless someone else. When we're all going through something, coming out of something or about to go into something, right? And we've all got experiences that we can help each other with. So keeping your story and your experiences to yourself is it's actually quite selfish. It's an injustice to others in the world who need you.
That is so powerful. I'm sitting here thinking about the young woman that was gasping for her last breath, who is now being mentored by the legendary Les Brown. I'm thinking about the woman who was stuck in sex trafficking and domestic abuse, who is now sharing her story with the world. I'm thinking about the woman who felt that she wasn't good enough, that she was tainted goods, to the point that she didn't want to be alive anymore, that she wanted to end it all, who was divinely directed from 2014 on to become a power voice and a woman of the power voice.
Right?
You can't make this stuff up, Angela.
Speechless, babe. I'm speechless. Ah,
You can't make this stuff up.
you can't.
So now here you are, a woman of the power voice, international bestseller, coach, motivational speaker, mindset mentor. Look at you. Because you, and I'm quoting you here, because you said deep internal work allows the change. Angela, I have one question for you. Was it worth it? Was the deep internal work, the pain of facing that, the triggers, learning them, monitoring yourself, was it worth it, Angela?
Far out, Pamela. You are bringing me undone, girlfriend.
Ooh,
You
okay.
make my mascara run.
Say that again. You cut out a little bit. Say it one more time.
You're making my mascara run.
Mine too. Don't worry.
Was it worth it?
Mm.
Pamela, if I save one woman's life, I would do it all again. If I got to impact one woman's life, I would absolutely go through it all again. Because, oh, I truly think that we have angels walking this planet. And every now and then there's someone who just touches and graces your path with something so powerful, with a gold nugget. It could be 3 words, it could be half an hour or a cup of coffee or 3 days, whatever time you get to spend with that person. But they never know how much impact that they leave on your life.
Right.
And having someone like you, like Les Brown, like John Tallarico, and all the other people that I've been blessed with that speak into my life, if there is one person that I get to speak into someone's life and help them change it, encourage them to change it, bring them the hope to change it, I don't know, something, anything, it's an honor. It's an honor to leave a footprint on someone's heart in that moment that is pivotal of I get to choose whether I continue on that path that's, let's face it, killing you, or killing you slowly, really slowly, or I get to make the choice to change my life, change the situation to something that is loving and nurturing and kind and gentle to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just there is no greater gift to be sitting here today. Oh, there's no greater gift to be sitting here today with you, having the opportunity to impact one woman's life.
Mhm.
What it's like to lie on the bathroom floor in the fetal position, wanting the ground to open up and swallow you because you've had enough, because you're tired. It doesn't matter how many hours you sleep, that tiredness doesn't go away. I know what it's like. All I can say to you, this is God, this is God for me. I didn't have anything like this. Come and lay at His feet. Give Him your burden, because that's what He's there for. He loves you. He adores you. He sent His only Son to die on the cross for you. And if you were the only person on the planet, He still would have done it. He would have sent His Son to die that horrific, humiliating death so He could be with you, so you could be with Him in paradise for eternity. Nothing you've done that will not love you forever and forgive you. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this is coming from.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
There you go.
And when God looks at you, you who are listening, watching, He sees the finished product. Just like when He was looking at Angela, He saw all that she is today, and it will be as the future goes on. That's what He was seeing when He was looking at her, when He spoke to her and said, "Give the look." He was seeing the woman she is today, just like He's seeing who you are, who you have been created to be, your purpose by design, the vision for your life that He has for you. And you heard Angela say, it was worth it. Not only was she saying she would go back through it to change the life of one person, but that every decision to monitor herself, to do the hard work, to do the deep work, to say no when she wanted to say yes, and to say yes when she wanted to say no, to do all of that work was worth it to be where she's at today. And it's worth it for you as well. Because look at what God can do with somebody that is willing to do the work. You know, John Tallarico has taught us, and of course it comes from Bob Proctor, that we have to be willing and able. And we are able because of Him, but we have to be willing. And Angela, I'm so grateful that you, my friend, were willing and are willing, because you are a power voice in the earth and a legacy, a living legacy of our mentor, the legendary Les Brown. Thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything in closing that you want to share, and make sure that you give us your website or how people can follow you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I really believe the Women of the Power Voice anthology is so powerful. We've got 35, 40 women's stories in there, stories of hope, stories of victory. And if there is anything that whatever you're going through right now, if you need just a little glimpse of hope, get that book. There are so many stories of, of just stories of victory, stories of hope, stories of encouragement and motivation in that book. Things that you and I will never experience. And you get to go through the journey with these women and see them come out the other side. And it just goes to show it doesn't matter what you've been through. There is still hope. There is definitely hope for you and something bigger and better. Yes, so my website is angieb.com.au, and I'm on Instagram under The Transformation Queen, the.transformation.queen. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Talk about going from the pit to the palace. She's the queen. I just love it. Your story is so amazing. Thank you for sharing it with us today. And thank you for being here, Angela. You're awesome.
Pamela, it's my honor and my privilege and my honor. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
This has been great, hasn't it, everybody? We went there today. It was a deep dive. It was a deep dive. And I know that each one of you felt it. And I know that you know people that need to hear it, that need to take this deep dive. So do a favor for them and for Angela. Her story matters, just like your story matters. Les Brown says, like it and share it. Will you share this story with somebody else? Post it, send it in an email, do whatever. Let's change the world together. And that's what we're all about at the Women of the Power Voice, right? Changing the world. Join the movement with us. Take Angela's story and let's just spread it around the world, because her story deserves it. But there are people's lives hanging in the balance, that need to hear it. So thank you so much for being here today, everybody, for showing up. And I know that you are forever changed. Remember, you are here on purpose, with a purpose, by design, not by default. So go on out there now and be the salt and the light everywhere you go.
Pamela Henkel is the founder of the Purpose Center. Pamela is a mindset mentor, author, speaker, minister, and transformation coach. Her weekly podcast, international radio show, and television show are a lifeline that changes lives and inspires people to discover their individual potential through realizing their purpose by design. Pamela is a natural motivator and has shown many how to find their niche and transform their lives. Although success is an uphill battle, Pamela gives the necessary strategies to flourish, cheering you on every step of the way. Pamela shares from her personal experiences, education, and life as a woman in leadership, utilizing decades of knowledge. Taking the approach of, let's have coffee and chat, she will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Are you ready for Pamela to help guide you? Email us at purposewpamela.office@gmail.com or go to her website at purposewithpamela.com.